are you working for the IRS? You didn't send
Yeah.
them the invoice for $11,000. So what the
No.
hell?
I had one client, he was totally disconnected from his numbers. He went to go sell his business and, they asked for the books and the books were a disaster. And the CPA involved with the exchange or whatever was like, you need Casey. So he sent me the books and I found out that all the income for the year was duplicated. So he literally thought he made $750,000 or something. He paid $75,000 in taxes too
Oh my
much
goodness.
because
Wow.
all of his income was duplicated, but he had no idea.
It's tough to find some of those things. And that's why I'm talking to Casey here, because there's all these things that just continue to take money out of my coffers that limit my ability to redeploy resources into the other problems that I solve. I got a tax return to review yesterday and it kind of pissed me off because the numbers didn't match. It felt like I was on a scavenger hunt. So I'm going through, again, not my strong suit, but I'm going through and I'm like, okay, what was that expense account? What is that? And why is that off by $12,000? We showed this and they will put this. I don't get it. 3 months ago, she sent me an email. She's like, did you end up buying a property when you went on that trip to Mexico? And I said, no, the cost, we ran the analysis, it didn't make any sense. So we didn't get anything. She said, oh, okay, cool. There was also multiple reasons for the business trip. We were creating content, shot a bunch of videos to attract clients, to do advertising, we ran some ads and did the whole thing from Mexico.
Yeah.
And that's where 11,000, something like that, of the dollars that she disallowed. Me and an employee spent an hour and a half finding it, and you never told me in that email. And then you sent an invoice for $11,000 for my tax preparation. That just doesn't work for me. That's not you should have told me then, and I can give you more context to the trip. And instead, you're like, are you working for the IRS? You didn't send them the invoice for $11,000. So what the hell, man?
No, I know. Because so many people are scared to ask a question. Okay, if you don't feel right about something, whether it's right or wrong, just ask. Because if it's right, then you'll understand it.
Correct. And now I know beyond a doubt that if it's a rental property and I'm looking, if I go on an exploratory trip to potentially procure more rentals, I have to acquire the property in that year, put it into service, and only then can I add it to my basis. I can't even expense it. None of those things I knew, but I had to find that out on my own. And so I sent, that was the EA who works for the CPA, and I sent the CPA an email, and I'm like, this is BS, man. I've been paying you for 15 years, and I would have expected that email to come back in response to, oh, you didn't buy a property? Well, guess what? And then you tell me why. And then I said, oh, but there was more. Did we book it wrong? I want to solve the problem, not just lose the deduction, pay you a bunch of money. What starts that process? I mean, the tax return for that entity was probably 50 pages. I don't understand hardly any of it. Page 2, I get that. I can go through the, but the rest, it's dude, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And just trying to figure that out, there were so many times that I was almost like, the last year was a mess. Just sign it, be done. I just wanted to. That's a difference of $11,000 of tax deductions just in one issue. And now I'm okay, got to look for more issues because we're not done.
Well, and a lot of times when you get the tax returns prepared, they send you the form to sign, and you can just see whether you're getting a refund or whether you owe. It's just a basic page.
Yes.
And so the tax return is separate. It's in a different file. You have to go review, but they just want you to sign. So just taking the extra few minutes, pulling up your copy before you sign and being okay, this all makes sense. And maybe it's just the first 2 pages you're looking at. Okay, is the income look okay? Does the deductions look okay? Do I have all my things that I know that should be there, basically?
And this process you may cringe at this, Casey, but the way I do it is I pulled up the tax return. I look at those first couple pages because that's about the only thing that makes anything close to sense to me. But I look at those first couple pages and then I sit down with my bookkeeper and say, okay, let's go. Because I don't really know what I'm doing even on those 2 pages, but at least it's total gross income. Okay, let's open the books. Did that number match? And I think in ours, it was within $3,500. I'm like, okay, good enough. It wasn't I'm not going to, there's reasons that some of that may change. Maybe there was an invoice that something booked wrong. I know from experience that there's journal entries after the returns are done that make things balance all the way. So when it's within that level, again, that might be not the best way to do it. And I don't think an accountant would be like, oh yeah, as long as it's close, you're good, you know, but that's
Yeah.
how I do. But then I got down to expenses, and that's where it was off like, well, honestly, it was off like $87,000. And I was like, whoa, hang on. But then I looked, the first thing that I identified in seeing those expenses were off is there were a bunch of expenses that got recorded inside of a business entity that were personal, and our books marked them as personal. So I just went through, I don't know, maybe there was 200 transactions over the course of the year, and I grabbed probably 5. I just scrolled down, like, click that one. Oh yeah, that was personal. Okay, scroll. Okay, click that one. And I just randomly grabbed 5, and every one of them, I could recognize the transaction, the vendor, the amount, the dates. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I see what happened. So that was 30,000, I think. So there's $30,000 of expenses that had just been paid inadvertently by an entity that were really, so we moved those over to the balance sheet. The accountant did that right. But I want to know that if my expenses are much lower, then why? Did I do something wrong? Did the bookkeeper do something wrong? Or is there some rule that I don't know about? Am I spending money inside my business thinking that it's a tax deduction and it's not? Because if I don't know that, I sure as hell want to change my behavior.
Yeah.
Because, all these things can affect me having just a little bit better results this year compared to last year, right?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, like this was the first year she had done your return. So like it's super important, especially when you're dealing with somebody new, like you're all on the same page. And what I've found helpful too, as a bookkeeper accountant working with businesses, is when I'm in contact with the CPA, they can reach out to me for questions, or I can reach out to them for questions like, hey, we're going to buy this. Like, how does this look? Should we wait till next year? Or, it's become valuable to like my clients too, where all 3 of us are involved. And it's not just like, well, what did your CPA say? Like, I don't remember the words. Like, he said something about, payroll and owner's draw. And I'm like, I don't know the numbers. Just like keeping the communication loop open so that everybody's on the same page.
It's so critical. That's why I have quarterly calls with my CPA, just so there's, I mentioned to you, I think the story of my wife sliding off the road with a leased vehicle. And that was right about the end of the year, right at the end of the lease. And I wasn't going to do anything about it. But because I was having one of those calls with my accountant and just telling him what was going on, he informed me of accelerated depreciation and that I need to go buy a new vehicle. And if I could close and take delivery on before the end of the year, that it would do X, Y, and Z to my tax. So I went car shopping right away.
Yeah.
And it made a lot of difference on my tax year that year. I'm talking like $75,000 swing in taxes that year because of that conversation. Like, that's real money. As entrepreneurs, we don't speak the number language, and it's such a different language, but it's a money language. So if we have people like Casey, I like the trifecta, right? There's the entrepreneur, there's the CPA, and then there's the bookkeeper that keeps things organized. You need all 3 involved in the process. Without all 3, then that's a little disconnected, and you can open up the doors to potentially some fraudulent, if you don't have all 3, you checking and balancing and being aware of the situation, then you can get into some real nasty stuff where bad apples could get into the scene and really mess things up. Again, not a numbers guy, but right on the heels of a massive, I was taking advantage. My bank accounts went down to about $2,000 from millions. And then it was only then that I started piecing things back together. And I honestly don't even know how much the total was, because we found over 200 shell companies that were created by another individual, where monies were just 5,000 here, 27,000 there, 16 over here. We don't even know if we found all the shell companies. That's how many we did find. And some of the payments, there was everything then led offshore and to these different places. Like, it was quite a complicated scheme. Is it worth it to us to really try to track 100% perfection, or can we just get enough? My goal was to pay the back taxes, get out of there, and not.
And
I guess I
and
was in
just
prison,
put it behind you kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I realized just how stupid I had been, I started looking at the bank statements. You triggered that thought, because I kept getting paper statements until just a year or 2 ago. Now I do this electronically.
Yeah.
But the paper statements would trigger me to have a process run. And I would open the papers. Sometimes I'd let them stack up for a month, or sometimes even 2, if I'm being honest. But then I would open them and I'd sit down, usually on a weekend, and I would just look at the top line. I'd look at the bottom line, and I'd make sure that they balanced and that the things were there. And I would just do an audit of the
Was there
transactions that were
anything
there.
weird that
Yeah.
shouldn't be there or you don't know what it is.
Yeah. When I say the word audit, I mean, I don't even know what the hell that word really means other than I don't want one.
Yeah.
And what I did was just look randomly at transactions and look for things that seemed out of place. So if all the bills are going through my bank account, and that's the other system, the process that I put in place was people can set up my payments, but I have to approve them. So
Yes.
now I go in and I can approve every payment, and even the $25 ones I'm approving because I can see the vendor and that. So if I'm doing that through the week and then I look at my bank statement at the end of the month and the top and the bottom numbers match and I've done the approvals through the week, I'm in pretty good shape. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a short 1.0 process. Now, if there's a vendor that's on there that I get hey, you need to approve this bill pay for 10 grand and it's a vendor I don't recognize, I can say, wait a minute, who's this?
Yeah.
And Casey, we actually had one come through 2 weeks ago
Is it through
where,
email?
yeah, and it
Yes.
looked so good. My bookkeeper was
It
about
looked
to set up the
so
payment.
good. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it looked
they
like it was for me.
happen all the
There was a
time.
W-9, there was
Yep.
wire instructions, there was everything, a whole email thread between me and this person, and then it looped in my bookkeeper and
Yep.
said, oh, here's this. Looked like it was from me to the bookkeeper saying, see the thread below, set up the payment, $26,000.
Yeah. No,
And
they've
she was
gotten
bringing
like
it to me for approval. Like, okay, I'll set up this payment today. I'm like, well, payment? Hold up. Hey, have you
yeah.
ever heard this name before? Like,
Yeah.
which she didn't do it, but that's like, it looks so good. So you got
No,
to be
they've
careful.
we actually see it all the time. And, the best resource is where it came from, like the email. But they've even figured out like they'll miss like one letter out or something of the
And your
email.
brain just like skips over that if you're
Yeah.
doing it quick.
So
Yeah.
we run payroll and we've had it before where somebody sent in, oh, it's this employee. It came from this employee. It passed through HR that they were changing their bank account. And so we needed to change their direct deposit. And it went through HR. We got it from HR, like the paper, not the
Wow.
email, the
Mhm.
paper. And so we changed it because it came from internally and everything. But HR didn't realize that the fraud was it was happening to
Oh, so
her.
it tricked HR and then HR ran it up the
Yes.
flagpole.
Yes.
Ah,
And so
man, it's
it's out
crazy.
there.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
these stories about AI just sounding like somebody's voice and then
Yeah.
calling their mom, and their mom sends them $10,000 and it
Yeah.
wasn't
And
the
it was
person
never
at all,
her.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like,
crazy.
it's crazy. And so having some of those processes is so critical. And again, here's what I think entrepreneurs do. I think we are a special breed. I think we get up in the morning, we have no idea what the hell we're going to face, but we go out there and do it every single day. I've been doing
Yeah.
it for 22 years or something. And that's cool. But the downside to that is that we put lipstick on pigs and we make things look good, and we try to see the solution, down the road that may happen. And that creates some rose-colored lenses, where we don't always see what the downside is. And when we start thinking about numbers, we think to solve the problem, we need to be a master's level accountant, and so it's
Yeah.
like, here's the level that I'm at now. Here's where I should be. Whoa, that's a big gap to fill. So we think we're going to get to that, and we just stay busy with our email, or we make another sale, and you don't have to, you just, like, a process can be simple. It can be
Yeah.
very
No, it
basic,
could be so
and you
simple
can
as
catch,
opening your statement and
yeah,
just
and you can
reviewing it.
catch this stuff
Yeah.
before $27,000 goes out of your bank account, you
Yeah.
know?
Embezzlement has showed up a lot in my life, like just doing what I do. I've been doing it for 23 years.
Uh-huh.
And it just in the last year, I feel like it's constantly been
Uh,
around. And so I'm like, I need to get out there and like teach
help
people
people
and
to, yeah,
educate and like,
yeah.
hey, let's just start asking questions. That's such
Mhm.
like a big thing. Don't be too scared to
Yeah. Yep.
ask somebody questions.
For
So
sure.